Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this webinar together with Frank Gaschler. I have a personal connection with Frank Gaschler. Now we know each other for 6 years, 6+ years, yes, and he was my assessor in the certification process to become a certified trainer. And I pick him because I want a German approach to my certification. I want somebody with discipline and to put me to work, which I did work, but Frank was not at all the type of strong hand that I was expecting. I hope you will see it this evening and maybe later that he, at least for me, it's really a warm heart, and I'm proud to say he became a friend. We visited him and his wife Gundi this summer, and we had this idea to have a webinar about his project, the Giraffe Dream. Hopefully, you will know him. You will know his background. His motivation. Maybe some of you will be inspired, but most of you at least will learn something tonight, and it's about our children. And I think that's the main topic of tonight. So, Frank, I'll pass it to you for your short introduction, and I guess you have also a question that you'd like to address, and then we'll just carry on.
Thank you very much, Alexandru, and bun venit to everybody from Romania, but not just people from Romania here. And yeah, I'm super excited to sit here now to have this hour with you together, and super excited to share some thoughts, some experiences around this item of NVC, nonviolent communication with children. A little bit of my background. Yeah. So my background is I was forced to NVC by my wife. So it was not my fault that I'm sitting here. She started with the whole thing. She wanted to get more in contact with our older daughter at that time. She was 4 or 5. And so she started with parenting classes, and in this way she came to NVC. And one day she came home and told me, "Oh, now I found something wonderful. It's NVC. It's this thing with 4 steps, and I will talk to you and to everybody in 4 steps now." And I said, "No, don't do it with me." And actually, the first thing that she came up with was she came home and she said, "I will never excuse myself again. I will never say I'm sorry." And I was shocked. I was like, that was it. Because I thought that this would mean if she doesn't have to say sorry, that would mean she can do whatever she wants and I have to accept everything. So it took some time until I understood that nonviolent communication is something different. I needed to, of course, I couldn't lose my face, so I needed to wait until she's sleeping, and then whenever she slept in, I could grab the book from Marshall Rosenberg and read it secretly. And I found a couple of things in it that I liked. And some months later, we met Marshall Rosenberg in Munich. That's where I come from. I live very close to Munich in Germany, and so we met him, and I liked what he said. I was not like, whoa, but I was like, aha, okay, there's a couple of things in it that I like. And then in the evening, we had the opportunity to go out for dinner with him. And by chance, I was sitting next to him, and I asked him, I think I was a little bit naive, because I just asked him, "Marshall, how is it to be a guru?" Because I thought a guru is a proper job for Americans. And so I asked him, "So how is it to be one?" And he looked at me and he became actually quite sad. And he shared that, look, this is not what I am. This is what people make out of me. And then he started to share what drives him to give nonviolent communication to the world. And he actually showed me a couple of pictures from families, from children all over the world. And he said, this is the reason why he does it, to bring nonviolent communication to a lot of places, in particular to children, and to have a kind of a different, I don't know, better, but at least different place for them to be. And that really caught me from the beginning. And from this place on, me and my wife, we started to go into NVC, particularly NVC with children, because that was our main aim, to deal with our own two daughters. And so we started with NVC. We started with NVC with children, and then I had this idea about a project, how to bring NVC into the kindergarten of my younger daughter. And I called this project Giraffe Dream. And then people came and said, oh, this is a good idea. Can you do it in our kindergarten too? So we did the project a couple of times. We wrote a book. The book was, the book was sold a couple of times in German-speaking country, translated in different other countries. And so from this point on, this is my main thing, that I'm going around and bring NVC into schools, kindergartens, family systems, universities, people, everybody living or working with children. So this is why I'm here now. So and I would love to, since the group is so big and we only have 1 hour to go, I would love to know each other. I would really hear from each of you something. But for now, I have just a question for you. And the question is, I hope it works. Yeah, you will find in the chat, you will find a link. And with this link, hopefully, you will get a question. And the question is, what is important in the relation to a child for you? So what is really important for you? And please, if possible, write it in English, because that's easier to read, at least for me. So just answer and press the sending button. I very much enjoy this connection, the big one in the middle. So the more people from you wrote one word, the bigger it will become. And connection is so big, and love too. And it reminds me on something my wife once said. She was asked, so what is your aim in being a parent? So what is how do you know that you were a good parent? Something like this. And she was thinking about it, and she answered, the aim is actually that one day when the kids are grown-ups, and one day if they have their own family and they're coming to our house for Christmas, they will really have fun with this and really looking forward to come on Christmas. And that was, when I heard this, that was so touching, because I had so many aims, that they have to have good marks at school, and that they behave well, and that they easy brush their teeth and tidy up their rooms, and blah, blah, all these things, all these very, very important things. But on a long term, it's really the question, how will the connection be? How will we relate to each other after all these years? And so what I can say is, since now, and the kids, our daughters, they're now 23 and 26, the connection is there. So that's something I can really celebrate. So if you want, you can still continue writing something in it, and hopefully at the end of this hour, we can have a look back and see how it changed.
Frank, if you don't mind, I would like to approach to in the role of the father, right? You had two daughters. You have two daughters, but they were minors when they first encountered NVC. And I have a daughter as well, and she was 5 when I encountered NVC. So somehow I want to see the future. I want to see when my daughter is 26 and creating an environment here together with my wife. You also had Gundi as a certified trainer in the house. What's that house look like? And is there any? I'm sure there are differences between when you teaching other parents NVC and when you had to apply it. And I know there were challenges. I know I have them. I know you have them.
Oh, yeah.
Can you share a bit that part, and how was the dynamic in a family full of NVC, right? On the paper, at least.
Okay, I start with on the paper. So on the paper, because I remember a couple of times that we tried to teach our daughters NVC, like in terms of teach them 4 steps. And all the time they said something like, yeah, go ahead. No, I don't want to do this, and go away with these things, and blah, blah, blah. So there was always this thing that they really refused, like actually learning it. But then one day, and that was fun, one day they came, a trainer came, Godfrey Spencer, and he came to visit us. And so I told them, "Whoa, there's Godfrey Spencer coming, very famous trainer from Belgium." And they were like standing there talking to each other, like, "Oh, a famous trainer is coming. Oh, then we have to talk in Giraffe all the time." And then they started to use these 4-step thing, and it was. I would have wished to videotape it, because that was super duper in my workshops. That was originally 4-step thinking, but it did never ever happen when we are talking to them. So you asked me, how does our life or our house look like? So the one thing that I very, very much enjoyed is something in particular when it came to puberty, we very much kept up the connection, not all the time. Of course, there was things they wanted to be on their own in their room. The doors were locked for a time, but still there was a connection. And the main thing was that they very often. They invited friends, like the same age, coming to our place. And like usually if you have kids in their puberty, they will come with a group of other young people, and they will run into their room, close the door, and you don't see them. But in this case, they came, and the friends wanted to stay with us. They wanted to talk to us also. They even I remember they had a party once, and the friend said, "What about your parents? Do not want to join us, because we would like to talk to them." And even there were even 2 friends. They came when our younger daughter was studying. They came to visit just us, because they wanted to have this connection. So when you see, not all the time, unfortunately, but what I see in our house is we have connection to young people, and they come and they are, yeah. We talk to them, they talk to us, and then we can kind of connect in this way. And this is something I really celebrate. And I remember a situation, and that was really mind-blowing for me, because that was so far away of my thinking when I was that age. So the situation was, I was standing in the kitchen and doing some cooking. And I was standing there for, I would say, too long, and nobody was there. And all this thinking came up of, I'm alone, nobody's interested in this, I have to do all this stuff the whole day, I'm just the servant here, blah, blah, all these things, all the thoughts. Maybe you also had thoughts like this before. And then my daughter came around, unfortunately for her. And so I saw her coming around. And the first thing I said is, why are you not doing anything in this household? Why do I have to do it? Why can you not at least put out the bin or something like this? Blah, 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 blah. And so she looked at me. She looked at me, and then she said, Daddy, are you not feeling well? Do you need something? Can I sit with you and you tell me what's going on? And I was really like, what? I mean, I expected every kind of reaction, but not that one. And that was something that she offered me, empathy for just picking on her. And so if you really want to go to a good trainer, go to her.
I re-met Marie this summer, and when we were there, and now they're adults, and it's the type of relationship, at least right now, that I would like to keep on with my daughter as well. It was a model, but she also shared, and you completed then how it was their life also outside of the house and with their friends. By knowing these steps, they didn't learn it like in a formal way, but they obviously they picked it up from the two of you. And it was a story that maybe you would like to share it. How was for them to be empathic in school?
I would say it had like a coin having two sides. So the one was, it helped them a lot to go through a lot of processes that are happening at school. So I remember Marie was mediating once when there was a bullying in the class. I remember that one of the pupil, he had autism, and he started to explain the teacher what he actually needs and stuff. And both of them were always the ones who were there for listening, for mediating, for talking to teachers, and so on. On the other hand, and this is the other part of the coin, is since they were the one who were always able to listen, who were always empathic, who were always there for the others, it was very hard for them to find somebody who's listening to them in the same quality. Mm-hmm. So that was the other part of it.
They had you at home, but you were their parents.
We were the parents. Yes. Too old, of course, too old to understand a lot of things. Of course. Yeah, and the parents. That's a lot of things were not our business. At least not mine as the father. Mm-hmm. There are a couple of things that they were talking to Gundi as a woman, but I can accept it very much. That there are a couple of things that is not my business.
Thank you for sharing that. If you like to change a bit the gears of the conversation and go into the Giraffe's Dream and the wonderful impact, but also the challenges that you've encountered by promoting nonviolent communication about two preschool children, how you interact with them. You interact also with educators, you interact with parents, like you mentioned, there are at least 300 places where this program is working, and it's not working because it's you pay them to take the program. It's working because it's actually produced some results, and but I'm pretty sure that there were some challenges, and a lot of the audience tonight, they are educators, they are teachers, and maybe we can share that experience.
Mm. Yeah, there are a couple of challenges there, and first of all, I really would like to point out that, yeah, as you just said, there are people here in this call who are much more into NVC with children or into NVC in a kindergarten than I am. I'm kind of only a trainer, and if I see, for example, Miha in this call, who runs a kindergarten in Timișoara, you're dealing in an everyday situation with children, parents, stuff, and I just come and bring something and then I'm leaving again. And unfortunately, really unfortunately, I'm usually not working with children in the kindergarten. I would love to, but my main focus is working with adults, working with parents and with teachers, that they bring it to the children. Mm-hmm. Because I think if I would do it, it's too easy, actually. I mean, you can do a program for 2 days or something, and you make some funny bits and pieces, and the kids will love you, and they will do whatever you say, and then you go home, and then nothing has really changed. So if you want to have a real change in the long term in a system, there must be a change from the inside, and in a kindergarten or in a school, it's, for me, the main thing is that we reach the adults in this, because you can, in a way, you can educate the kids as much as you want. You can do as much as you want. The thing is, what are you showing them in, what are you living? Because this is what the main thing that they are learning. I mean, you can explain them how to deal with a conflict, but the question is, how do you deal with a conflict? You can tell them how to express their feelings and needs. You can express them how to, you can teach them how to listen empathically, but what the kids really learn from is how you listen to them and how you express yourself. And that's why my teaching goes to the parents and to the teachers. Mm-hmm. The main challenges there are the parents and teachers, because we are adults and we are keeping our backpacks with us. It's so easy with children. I mean, if we one part of the program is to have mediation between children. It's so easy to have mediation between children because they don't have this thinking, this thought of thoughts, this they're just talking to each other. They're in the here and now. But if you have a mediation with adults, it's much more complicated. They are reading between the lines, and adults are remembering what you have said or they think, what you might have thought about things like this, and this makes it much more complicated. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I see some people nodding. I think I would like to see a show of hands. Do you have the same experience that life with adults is much more uneasy than with children? Much more complicated. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah. So when you ask me where how is it? It's a lot of things that, I mean, we are brought up in a certain way. We have our values, our experiences, and it's not easy to overcome them. One example, when we started with NVC, one of the first funny ideas we had was that we do never ever want to punish our children. We do not want to punish them, and we do not want to. What is the other thing of punishment? The opposite of it
Reward them.
Reward them. Yeah, we did not want to punish them, and we did not want to reward them, because a trainer from Serbia, Nada Ignatovic, she just told us this, and so we thought, oh, that's a good idea. We're not doing this. and then we explained this to our friends, and they, we will not punish our children. We will deal in a different way. And they went like, no, you can't do it. You have to punish them. If you don't punish them, they will end up underneath a bridge, and they will take drugs, everything. And so we were thinking about this kind of life experiment. I mean, at that time, the kids were 5 and 3. And so you start doing something, and you will see the result of it 20 years later.
Oh, wow. Yes.
This is risky. It's really risky. And I mean, I was brought up with punishment, with a lot of things. And so it's not too bad, actually. I mean, could be worse, could be better. But I know what I'm talking about. I can more or less know what I can handle. And going this new thing is risky.
Risky, or at least looks risky.
Yeah, it looks risky, and then you have people around you, your mother-in-law telling you, yeah, but you have to do this, or the teacher tells you this, or the headmaster of the school, or whoever, and taking this risk gives also, of course, a chance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when we are just thinking back how most of us were brought up, there were very painful, some painful experiences, some traumatizing experiences. And yes, I would love to beware my children of at least some of those.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course, I would love other children too, not just mine, but also others. And and seeing what is the outcome of the projects now. I mean, it's not 20 years now, but still don't know if they all land underneath a bridge. I don't know if we have enough bridges in Germany for this. But just when I get some feedback from people who are now into NVC for more years, having children, brought them up, we had we had family camps with parents, and just to get this feedback, what is the outcome, what is really happening, I would say, yeah, it's worth taking this risk or this opportunity.
Somehow that was also my motivation. If I remember the first time when I read Nonviolent Communication, I was searching for parenting information in order to calm down, or to put something instead of the things that I promised myself as a child to never do to my child. And now that I had a child, I've done, right? Some of them are still doing the things that I copy from my parents.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, that's the gift of nonviolent communication. At least that's what I saw, that it actually can take that luggage that you mentioned, our backpack that we're carrying, at least not necessarily to throw it away, but at least not to carry it without knowing that we're carrying it, and to look at it. And then all the relationships, not just with our children, can have a different meaning, can have a different frame to operate. Mm-hmm. And keeping the focus on children, the name of this workshop is Does NVC Actually Works with Preschool Children? And curious if you...
I would love to say something about this.
All right.
Because this is really a question. How do you define works?
Yes.
There is a quote from Marshall Rosenberg that I love about this. And he said he was. I think you don't find this quote written down, but I love it. It must have been one of the seminars, and he was with a lot of teachers, and the teachers asked him, so does NVC work so that the children are silent? That they shut up and listen, or that they shut up at least. Doesn't matter if they listen, just shut up. And then Marshall Rosenberg said, if the only aim is that they are quiet, shoot them.
For sure, that's not on paper.
It's not on paper. So,
or online.
But there is a truth. There is a real truth in it, and the truth is that. So when I'm giving parenting workshops, if the parents like with younger children, the main question is, how can I use NVC that they are brushing their teeth and are happy? And if they're a little bit older, then the question is, how will they tidy up their room? Or how will they do their homework? Or how will they
computer games
do not play computer and instead running around in the garden and help me doing something?
Yeah.
So if this is the question, we would not really need NVC, because there are a lot of other ways to bring children to brush their teeth and do this. But I remember I did a workshop once with parents in the school where I'm working. I was working in a high school in Germany for 10 years, and my job was to support the teachers and of course the parents and the pupils too, but mainly the teachers dealing with all these things that are happening in the school, like bullying, like conflicts, like any kind of aggression, self-aggression, cutting, everything that is happening in a school. And so I had this parenting thing, and the parents, all the parentings were asking all the time, yes, okay, and we see that nonviolent communication sounds nice, but what if they don't do the homework? What if they want to play computer? What if they do? And how can I bring them to this? And what do I have to do that they are stopping playing computer after half an hour and then they happily learn Latin? Something like this. And so I was a bit struggling with this. And then there was one father, and he was like standing in the back a bit, and kind of at the very end, he lifted his arm and said he would like to share something. And he said, look, all the parents that were there, they had children like, in the beginning of their puberty, like something like between 11 and 13 something. And he said, just listening to this, he said, I was there exactly where you are now. But now his two sons, they are now 17 and 19. And the main question is not, did they do their homework or did they tidy up their room? The main question is, are we still connected? And I really would like to refer a bit to the thing that we did in the beginning. It's this connection. Will they come if they have problems? Will they come if I have problems? Will we talk to each other? Will we go through things? This is the main thing. And yes, there is some parts that are probably helpful if they're doing their homework and tidying up the room, And but what I found is, as soon as we have a stable relationship, then doing homework, brushing teeth is easier. Not easy, easier. But if the fights that we have are in our relation and in tidying up the room stuff, then it's taking energy. So this is the one part of how does it work. And the other part is going to the very, very young children. Of course, NVC does not work in terms of, I talk to a 2-year-old one and he will answer perfectly in 4 steps what he wants and what he doesn't want. So the main thing about NVC with children actually is that the words is just one part. The main part is the consciousness behind it, and the non-verbal communication.
Can you give examples, please? About the consciousness and about the non-verbal.
About the consciousness is there are two parts. So the one is knowing that I'm an adult and the child is a child. So that's we have in nonviolent communication, there is this partnership idea. That we are on kind of equal on eye-to-eye level, which is great as long as we talk to adults, and which is great if this is the aim, to come with our children one day to this place. But as long as my child is 2 years old or 3 or 4 or whatever, I do not want to be the partner of my child. I want to be a father or a parent. And in my understanding, children also have a right to have parents or teachers who give them structure, orientation, roots that they can really depend on, that they can know where they belong to, and they are not on this equal level because they have another way of thinking. They have different resources. They have a different ability of planning, and so on. All these different things. And on the long term, yes, but in the moment, this consciousness is that we have needs. We have probably the same needs, not at the same time, the same needs. Some are different, and they need parents to give them. Goethe, a German poet, he once said, the main job from parents is to give their children wings and roots. No, roots and wings, actually, roots and wings. So roots on the first place, and wings to fly when they are able to fly. And we can accompany them. So this kind of consciousness is important to me. And when we are talking about verbal and non-verbal parts, is we have language, and the kids are learning their language from the adults, mainly from us. Yes. Maybe from television too, but hopefully more from us than from the television. And so this language is an expression of what they need and what they feel. But they can much more express it in the non-verbal way, the way, like, just remember when they were babies, they did not say, mother, it is 7:30, I feel something in my tummy, it's probably hunger, I need some nourishment, would you please feed me? They did not say this. They just were crying, and you naturally knew what they want. And and when they're getting older, we sometimes expect them to talk in a way that we can understand something. But it takes some time, actually. They will learn, and they learn it from us, and it's helpful if our non-verbal language and the verbal language is congruent, so it's like fitting. So there's one sentence that shows where it's not fitting. It's something like when I say to my child, "Hey, Alexandru, you know, I do not really like this if you do this, so please stop this. Otherwise, I get really, really, really angry." So if I would say this to my child, and my child would be about 5 years old, what do you think he would understand? I guess he would understand, Daddy is funny. And this is actually one of the examples that is happening again and again when it's about brushing teeth from children. Then we have this funny game that starts, that the toothbrush game, when we are running around and the kids are running away and Daddy's following, smiling, having fun, until the mother comes around the corner with this look, and then I start changing and saying, "You have to go to bed now." And the kids don't understand. And then I start laughing again, and the kids are playing again.
Yeah.
So,
So
it's about getting clear and expressing clear what's life in me. It's about honesty mainly.
So you get back to the modeling part when you want to share an emotion that you probably are upset of something. It's not about kicking the wall, but actually to express it and to show that you are upset or you're angry without doing it in a forceful or in a way that you punish the child just by with your attitude.
Yeah.
But you're true. You know who you are, you know how you express, and you try to be as honest as possible.
Yeah. And expressing anger, or what I call it rage, as an emotion, not as a term of thinking. Rage is a very, very important emotion that I have, and I want to learn how to express it, and I want to show my child how to express it, but I want to show it in a way that I keep the full responsibility for this emotion in me. So I name my feeling, I show my feeling, I name my feeling, I name the need that's connected to it, and the request.
Yes.
And by doing this, I keep the responsibility for this feeling. And what the child can learn from this is that it's okay to have an emotion, and not just okay, it's more than okay. It's I can show my emotion. I can show in this case rage. I can show it. I can connect it to myself.
Yes.
And I can find a way, a solution how to deal with this emotion by not kind of hurting somebody else.
Because in this part, when we're not coming with a clear request, you can, very often we don't realize it, that we kind of blackmail the child, like in the example that you said, if you don't do that, I will feel somehow, I will feel angry, I will feel, and in that way, we model in the child that actually when somebody is feeling somehow, it's because of me. I produce that feeling in somebody else, which is totally false and a way to different mental conditions, right? So
it is false in our understanding, and on the same time, it is a very, very It is a pattern that is so deep into children that they have this idea, unconscious idea, that they are in charge of the feelings of other people.
Yes.
And they need this because otherwise they would be 100% dependent. So this is it's a bit of a pitfall, a tricky thing that whenever you just show a feeling, whenever you just show an emotion to a child, then immediately the child picks it up with this idea, if I can change myself, then daddy will be happy again.
Yes.
And you have this in particular when you're working with children, and you have children who are traumatized, who have experience of being beaten at home, or who have parents who are abusing them. Then they very, very fast create this idea that they can change the mood of the parent by being a good boy, being nice, being better at school. So this is a pattern that helps them to survive in a way. The problem is it just doesn't work. If the parents are drunk, they will beat the child if they have good or bad marks. But this is the idea. And if I have children who are having this kind of experience, then it's so important to express honestly what's alive with me in this authenticity, but not just to express it, but also taking the responsibility by naming my needs and naming my strategy, my request for this.
Frank, time is flying by. I would just like to have a not necessarily quick round, but put your brain to work I'm just going to post questions that we got from the registration form. So, for example, this Gabriela, right? She said, "My 4-year-old boy is copying violence from the playground in order to obtain what he wants in the house. How to stop it?"
All right. Quick.
Yeah.
Quick.
We have at least
great.
12 questions.
So first of all, it's absolutely great that he is copying behavior of other people. I guess he will copy not just the violence, but also other things. So this is how learning works. Social learning works to see how other behave, and then I copy something and try it at home. And so the main thing is, if he, for example, copies violence, it can be helpful to talk about him, but also to play it with him. So one possibility is to take the dinosaur and the teddy bear and play with him this kind of violence and see how he reacts. And so dinosaur beats teddy bear, and then we can ask teddy bear how it is for him to be beaten. And then we can think about, together with a 4-year-old one, what makes dinosaur beating teddy bear, and what can the dinosaur do to not beat him. Something like this. This is how I love working with children. They can easily go on this thinking about something by doing with puppets, yes. and finding out that it's not a good idea that dinosaur beats teddy bear. Teddy bear is probably sad, and I do not like that teddy bear is sad. Does that make sense to you a little bit?
Well, for me, yes. Hopefully for Gabriela as well. Moving on to the next one from Alina.
And one thing also is it's helpful to give your child a clear no to this strategy. So it helps to have a clear no to the strategy, but a yes in terms of seeing his need behind it. And what's not working is that a 4-year-old one, his value system is not developed enough to understand fully what is violence and what's behind all these things. They're a little bit too young for this. How can we learn to communicate more effectively with our 5-year-old boy in order to gain his cooperation and meet our needs without resorting to verbal?
How do you respond to this before?
Yeah. So first of all, in the moment when he is aggressive, it's quite hard with him to communicate. Like nonviolent communication does usually not work when you are cracking up, when you have to pee, when you are hungry, when you're tired, when you're freezing, and so on. So if the child is in a, let's say, in a part of his brain, its reptile brain, it's not so easy to contact him. So it's much better to talk to him in a situation when he calmed down and when you have calmed down. So they're both parts. So when something's happening again and again, take your 5-year-old one, go out with him on Sunday, go eat an ice cream with him and talk about things, the conflicts that you had in the week a couple of times. And think together about how can you change it, but not in the situation when both of you are triggered. So it's not about therapy what we're doing. It's more like living together. But even then, kids are learning very much by observing others and learning from this behavior, which is definitely working. We cannot explain everything. Social learning works mainly by copy paste. And yes, in the therapy, in the cognitive behavioral therapy, they use this approach, of course, and do a lot of more things. But here we are not in therapy. Here we are more in building up a relation to each other.
Exactly. All right. Another question is, I think it's related to the Giraffe Dream. As an educator, how to teach parents to talk NVC with their kids at home?
Maybe if you are into NVC already, maybe you can connect them with their desire for how can life be in a family. So it's not, what definitely not works is telling them that they are communicating wrong and they should do something better. But if they get connected to what, I mean, in my understanding, parents love their children, and what our daily business is not so much connected with love all the time. But having a relation to the children that is based on love, that is based on connection, on empathy, on cooperation, is something where most parents are longing for. And so if we open this kind of window that this is a possibility where you can reach this, maybe it's a promise, but not a guarantee, of course. But if this can be a way to come there, then what I learned is that parents are quite open in trying something. So if I would be a teacher or an educator, I would start with this. Actually, I would treat the children in a certain way. I would treat the parents in a certain way, and then they may be interested. Mm-hmm. I have one story about this. It was the other way around, actually. So my daughter had a lot of problems with her teacher at school, and so I went to a mathematics teacher. And so he came, and it was a really young guy, and he was shaking. He was so scared of me coming there, because I guess he knew when a parent is coming, I will tell him what he's doing wrong all the time. So I went to him, and I was angry, but then when I saw him, I thought, oh, come on, poor guy, and I started to empathize with him. How it is to be a teacher, how it must be to sit in front of 30 kids who do want to learn everything but mathematics, and that he's not just in this class but also in others, and so on. So he got curious, and then after a while I could explain him a bit about my daughter, what would help her to understand and what makes her afraid of him, and so it was a nice talk at the end, and some changes have happened in the class with him. And a couple of years later, he came to me, and I did a class, a NVC workshop in that school, and he was there. He was in the seminar, mm-hmm. And so we had a circle in the beginning, and everybody shared, why are you here? What do you expect? And he said, look, I was there. You had this talk to me a couple of years ago, and this was so different to all the other talks I had before and after. And now I really want to understand, what have you done? So,
one interaction. Yeah.
So maybe if the answer to Gergeta would be, maybe you show them what NVC means with children, okay. And then maybe they're getting curious.
When they're gonna come to you and say, I don't know what you do with my child, but how can I learn this? So when a parent comes to you with this, then that means they are ready and they're open to give them something.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, people want to learn how to do it.
One more set. They are very similar, these two questions, from Lena and Adriana.
My child is dreaming. Oh, I love dreaming children. Oh.
Okay, so
does not follow our instruction when needed. How can I keep my calm? That's a good question. I love the question. So the question is not how can I make him following your instructions, but how can I keep myself calm? Maybe one way would be, and this is also part of the program that I offer in the in this 6-day thing is to learn what makes you shout, what makes you raise your voice, what makes you go into stress. And it's some of the parts are, of course, based on, let's say, a shared reality, but a lot of them are based more on the films that are running through our head.
Mm-hmm.
So in nonviolent communication, we have these 4 steps. The first one is observation, which would be nice if we would have the same. And in particular, as a parent, I know sometimes my observation turns into a film. And the film is something, what might go wrong? If I accept this now, then my child will end up underneath a bridge, or all these things. And unfortunately, this film becomes very fast my reality. And this creates, for example, that I'm stressed, that I'm in fear, that I'm cracking up. And to get in contact with this on the first place, and sometimes actually sharing this film with my children, if they are at a certain age, that they can see, all right, there is a fear in me, but this fear comes not from the moment, but it comes from all my thinking. And then, but if it comes from the moment, like if my child is running on a big street, for example, then it's kind of not just a film, it's real. And then in nonviolent communication, we have something that we call the protective use of force, where it's about setting limits, saying a clear no towards something, but doing it and keeping up the relation. So we do it not for knowing better or winning or whatever, but we do it for actually for surviving.
Yeah.
And this is something helpful to learn.
So it's more about your own regulation rather than how to deal with the child or to do something with the child.
I read, hello, I'm a teacher, and my situation is 5-year-old girl, hits herself or scratches herself every time. Doesn't win a game, oh yeah. Or something she doesn't like. She has a lot of frustration and simply discuss it with her. My attempt to explain her didn't give results. Can you give me an idea? First of all, I mean, you're a teacher, so you know more than just 1 or 2 children. But I like, just in this group, I would like to see a show of hands of people who live or work with kids around that age. Who of you knows children that cannot lose? So one little idea can be to play different games where kids are not winning or losing. And the other thing is to empathize a bit with her. What is the thought? What is the fear behind losing? For example, is it that she will not be have friends anymore, that she will not be appreciated anymore, or something like this? And if so, then maybe it can be helpful to give her like appreciation for being here, but not for winning or losing something. Not just her, but everybody.
One more thing, Frank. What was the question that you would like to not necessarily reward, but support with the book that you and Gundi wrote?
That's a hard question, but because it does not mean that I did not like all the other questions. But actually, the question I liked most was exactly this question: as an educator, how to teach parents to talk NVC with their kids at home. And the reason is that I assume the longing of Georgetta behind it is that the longing that I see behind it is that she really wants to support the families, to support the kids to get in contact with this. And since she, as a teacher, you work with the children, you cannot really work with the parents, but on the same time you need them. So it's a cooperation. Raising children is not your business or my business. It's something that we can do together. And and this is what I read behind this question. So that's why I love it. How can we actually support parents that they are getting open to something, maybe something new? So one last word from me. I mean, now I'm kind of an old man, so I have experience, long experience. And one thing I really would love to share is, particularly for the ones of you who have young children at home, I can so much remember all the time when I was just thinking how, something like, oh, now it's hard because now we have this and that, but if they are at school, life will be easier. And if they are doing this, then life will be easier. And if they are 18, life will be easier, and stuff like this. And just looking back is actually, it was such a, wow, I so much enjoyed all these minutes, and I so much regret all the minutes I haven't been with them. So I love being with children, even if it's sometimes not that easy. Yeah.